Volgograd, Russia, at 0:40 Moscow Standard Time on the 27th of July 2025, a formation of Ukrainian AQ-400 Scythe UAVs, each armed with 110 pounds of explosive payload, will breach the outer perimeter of Russian air defenses. In just under 1 minute, at about 125 miles per hour, they will slice through patrols and tough terrain to strike the Zhutovo railway power substation, an important node 310 miles from the battlefront that keeps Russia's supply trains moving. When the first warhead detonates, it could bring Russia's supply lines to a halt. Even more interesting, the target sits dangerously close to a fuel depot, making the operation a high-risk, high-reward gamble. When the first warhead detonates, the resulting chain reaction could choke Russian logistics for days. Proof that sometimes it doesn't take an army, just a perfectly timed strike. And a reminder that maybe Russia should have invested less in parade tanks and more in fire extinguishers. It's 2 hours before the strike. The strike is classified at the highest level. Only top Ukrainian military commanders and a handful of personnel know the mission exists. To maintain stealth, the planners have built an improvised forward airstrip in the eastern city of Zaporizhia, about 300 miles from the target. No floodlights, radios in silence, just the pale glow of laptops and mission consoles powering up the operation. Every move is calculated, every signal minimized, ensuring the operation remains off the radar until execution. At the center of this operation is the $30,000 worth of AQ-400 Scythe, Ukraine's long-range strike drone built to fly hundreds of miles into enemy territory and destroy high-value targets. The attack drone's fuselage and wings are made from lightweight plywood, not high-tech composites. This makes it easy to produce, inexpensive, and perfect for mass deployment, something that Ukraine desperately needs at this moment. The drone stretches just over 10 feet from wingtip to wingtip, weighs about 220 pounds, and can carry an explosive payload of 70 to 110 pounds. Just enough firepower to cripple a high-value target. It's launched either under its own power from a short strip, or road, or via catapult or rocket-assisted takeoff, and can travel for about 450 miles per sortie in its standard configuration. Once the airframe is ready, the crew mounts the gas engine and propeller. They also calibrate fuel flow, run ignition checks, and then load the GNSS-guided autopilot system. With this system aboard, Scythe will fly low and find the target even if Russian jammers try to blind it. A laser altimeter is tuned to hold a flight altitude of 30 meters, skimming treetops to stay beneath enemy radars until the final descent. Meanwhile, the crew programs the drone's waypoints, mapping a course hundreds of miles deep into the enemy territory, carefully threading through electronic warfare zones, radar blind spots, and air defense gaps. Exactly 35 minutes past midnight, Moscow Standard Time, dozens of Scythe attack drones leap from the improvised strip, climbing shallow into the night sky. Operators inside a dimly lit control shelter track telemetry. Each second counts. The drones are now cruising at 125 miles per hour, flying low over dark terrain. Russian air defense radars sweep above, but the drones are masked by distance, the plywood material, and altitude. Fuel calculations show plenty of margins, with endurance reaching 6.5 hours. The mission is within safe limits. In under a minute, they are deep inside Russian skies now. And what's ahead isn't just open air, it's a maze of electronic warfare zones, the kind built to blind, confuse, and swat drones out of the sky. Russia has entire systems, like the R-330ZH Zhutovo, that can knock out GPS and radio links for miles. The R-330ZH is a formidable system, and Ukraine knows that too well. Russia has repeatedly deployed it across the Donbass and in Crimea since 2014. Also, Ukraine reported a spike in drone losses when the system was active in the Luhansk area in 2019. Now, if the Scythes stray into the system's reach, they risk the same fate, shut down in midair before even reaching their target. However, the Scythes are no walkover. They fuse satellite-based GNSS with inertial navigation systems, cross-checking position data with onboard gyros and accelerometers to stay on course even under heavy jamming. Which basically means Russia's top electronic warfare system is about to get outsmarted by the same tech that keeps Uber drivers from missing your house. And in this operation, Ukraine goes a step further. The operators aren't just sitting back. Units on the ground, like Ukraine's Typhoon teams, are constantly scanning for Russian jamming signals. When they find them, they tweak frequencies and push the drone into clearer air. It's a game of cat and mouse where Russia throws up a wall of static and Ukraine slides through the cracks. Still, the tension doesn't lift. One wrong move, one mistuned signal, and the mission could vanish into thin air. But just when it seems like the Scythes have slipped past Russia's electronic grip, another threat looms ahead. One that could be just as unforgiving and far less predictable. Inside Russia, even the terrain becomes a weapon. The Scythe has to weave through deep ravines, skim over endless forest belts, and cut across broken ground where a single miscalculation would bury it in the dirt. This is a patchwork of valleys, ridge lines, and tree cover designed by nature to break even the best of machines. But the drone isn't flying blind. Its autopilot is equipped with digital terrain contour maps, allowing it to ride the landscape the same way a strike jet would on low-level ingress, with inertial backup kicking in when signals fade. The Scythe threads through every kind of nature barrier thrown its way, slipping beneath radar coverage mile after mile, and the distance to the ultimate target reducing with each second. It is now 40 minutes past midnight local time. The critical moment arrives. This is the decisive moment, the one that decides whether Ukraine's weeks of planning and covert strategy pay off or collapse in vain. If the strike lands, Ukraine proves it can punch deep and hard, thus crippling Russia's lifelines and shaking Moscow's grip in the war. But if it fails, the consequences are brutal. Supply lines stay open, Russia regains momentum, and the window for another chance may never come. The pressure is absolute. One mission, one strike, no room for error. Suddenly, the drones barrel into Volgograd Oblast and plunge into the Zhutovo railway power substation. The impact is immediate. Transformers and switching gear vaporize in a searing blaze that turns the night into a battlefield inferno, visible for miles. Within 5 minutes of launch, the mission is done. Surgical, brutal, and devastating. A win for Ukraine. Moments after the strike, the fog of the attack begins to lift, and the first fragments of the story surface. Photos and footage ripple across media platforms. Buildings scarred near the rail lines, smoke curling above the horizon, and the reports only grow darker. It wasn't just the targeted substation that burned. Instead, a technical building at Zhutovo station also took a direct hit, adding another layer of chaos to the already crippled critical node for Russian forces. On the ground, the disruption is immediate. Krippled Railway scrambles to confirm train delays, blaming falling drone debris scattered across the tracks. Freight cars sit idle. Schedules collapse. The strike hits so hard that Volgograd Airport immediately shuts down, closing civilian airspace for hours, from 0:40 to 7:30 local time. This leaves emergency crews scrambling to make sense of what has happened and regain control. Somewhere in that confusion, Moscow's military planners have to be asking themselves, how are they caught this off guard? And more pressing, just how severe is the damage? And how far does the disruption reach? Hours later, the fire is contained, but the damage still lingers. Despite all these, Moscow claims victory. They claim that air defenses downed 9 Ukrainian drones. Like that's supposed to salvage the night. Yet the rail stays dark. Flights are grounded. Power is out. Russian operations are frozen. That kind of blow doesn't just reverse a tactic. It derails an entire campaign. This right here is the new face of warfare. It's no longer about massive tank columns slugging it out or endless artillery duels. It's about small, low-cost drones that can fly hundreds of miles, then slice straight through the arteries that keep an army alive. And on this night, it wasn't the trenches or front lines that mattered. Rather, it was the rails of Volgograd that turned into the battlefield. And only one party walked away with the bragging rights: Ukraine. In every shadow of conflict, there's a story waiting to be told, and we will keep telling it.